Hi everyone, it's your mad mother of the internet, and I'm doing an episode by episode react and review of Masters of the Universe Revelations. Before you start feverishly writing in the comment section, I ask that you wait until the end of the video. Unlike other reviews, I will start with the controversy surrounding the series. Let's get started. There are a lot of people shouting back and forth on Twitter about the show. I cover this in my blog post. On top of the back and forth between Clownfish TV and the ever-flapping gums of Kevin Smith, the fandom is split in general. Was there a bait and switch? Wasn't there a bait and switch? Are they staying true to the story? It's the usual rigmarole with a sprinkle of she's too manly on top. To this, I have questions for the ones who are shitting on it. Have you actually watched the original? Have you watched the 2002 reboot? Have you even watched this one, or are you just going with the crowd? Why would I even ask that? Because people tend to believe what everyone says if there are enough people saying it without forming an opinion of their own. Yes, I have seen the videos and articles shitting on it and blaming Kevin Smith for ruining the show. People are hounding him to apologize to Clownfish TV about calling them liars. I am not all about that shit. But I do have one question. When in the history of Kevin Smith has he ever been able to keep his mouth shut? In this review, I will be giving a summary of the episode, showing screen caps, discussing the art, animation, story, and voice acting. I am also doing live reactions to each episode as I watch them on Twitter, so if you wish to read more about it, I have it on my blog and will probably be adding to that conversation as the show gets into later episodes. Any references to original series episodes, as well as the blog post I mentioned, are linked in the description box along with my Twitter. Oh, and for those who have not seen it,
Spoilers.
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
it's many years later. Teela is coming into her own as her promotion to man-at-arms in this episode. Duncan has stepped down, retired as it were. While this is going on, there's another attempt to infiltrate Greyskull. The attempt succeeds, but there's something different. We learn the secret of Greyskull. It is a shell for keeping all of the magic of Eternia and the universe. Skeletor is after the magic, not the castle. There's a large battle in which the sorceress is forced to call for He-Man. This interrupts the ceremony, but she is still given the title. The call goes out to secure the people and amass troops to help the sorceress. A major fight takes place under Greyskull. He-Man charges Skeletor, not realizing where his enemy is standing, and unlocks the seal, releasing the magic. Skeletor hits the orb of magic with his Havoc staff, breaking it. This causes He-Man to take the brunt of the explosion, which splits the Sword of Power and vaporizes both Adam and Skeletor. In a fit of rage, the king banishes Duncan under punishment of death and commands Teela to escort him out of the palace. Teela refuses, throws her headpiece onto the floor, and leaves after saying she's tired of all the bullshit and that she can't trust anyone. Now, for a more in-depth breakdown of some scenes.
Certainty of death? Small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Could there be a budding romance here? The googly eyes, the softening of features as they look at one another? I think there are sparks here, and it's done quite well. It's not subtle by any means, but it's done well nonetheless. In case you're wondering, Randor is still a dick to his son, but when you spend your life goofing off and being lazy to hide the fact you're He-Man, I guess that's expected. Randor was always disappointed in his son in the original as well. Nothing has changed here. During the evacuation, the Queen looks back at her son and whispers for him to be careful. I had to go back and find the episodes of the original after a friend reminded me. Yes, she knows about Adam. She found out and was sworn to secrecy. If you're looking for examples of her knowing, try looking at the episode The Rainbow Warrior. So far, this feels like the old show, just more episodes. It's the same formula. Slow start, shit breaks loose, Adam transforms, and everyone fights Skeletor and his henchmen. They love doing the last minute saves, but can we talk about Orko's entrance here? Every once in a while his magic would work, but this is spectacular. He shows that he can stand toe to toe with Evelyn, even if it's for a moment. I am here for this. They are in Greyskull to attain a crystal that contains all the magic of the universe. It's conveniently stored and locked in a vault in the basement of the castle. The key is the sword. I said it was convenient. How many times have we seen this setup? We see Mossman during the fight. He gets burned alive by a spell. Not the way I would want to go. Am I happy that a beloved character dies? Not really, but being logical here, How else was Skeletor supposed to defeat a living plant? The fight in the heart of the castle rages, and we get to this moment. Adam loses his shit, and he forgets where Skeletor is standing, which would be in front of the lock to the vault. This is a natural reaction when someone kills a friend and then mocks them. This is just the first time rage has been on Adam's face that I can remember. This is good writing. Skeletor, having the momentary upper hand, pierces the orb containing all the magic and wisdom. The sorceress appears and freezes time for a moment, and that's when Adam makes the decision to sacrifice himself and the sword to save the universe. Well, Teela says he will die if he does it. It was never confirmed by the sorceress. This leads us to this controversial scene. This is the scene where everyone is saying He-Man was killed. Really? There's a blast pattern. We saw the explosion, but how many times in magical movies and shows has the hero survived? Yes, it was miraculous, but they still survived to show up later. So, nope. I would not have bought this even if I hadn't heard people whining about it. Yes, I heard he dies. I am reviewing and commentating on what I see in each episode, not the whole season, which I have not seen yet. There are two things going on in this scene. She's confirming that she knew, and that she's revealing to her husband that their son is dead. I wonder if they will play out any ramifications for this towards her from her husband. Will they do anything with this, or will they leave a loose end? Here comes another scene that people are complaining about, but we're going to look at the lead up to it first. Duncan is in the process of telling the king that Adam was He-Man. As he's doing this, Teela is realizing that the king and her are the only two people that were not aware of the secret. She's showing anger here because she's feeling betrayed by the people she's been fighting alongside for decades. She's not being selfish here, she's being human. After revealing not only the secret, but the fact they were sworn to secrecy by the prince, the king lashes out in anger and banishes Duncan, stripping him of his titles and station. He then orders Teela to escort Duncan out of Eternia. This is where Teela loses her shit. You can hear her voice crack when she calls them all out and talks of not being able to trust anyone. She's not being selfish. She's in pain and feeling betrayed. This is not the look of someone pitching a fit. This is the look of someone who has been betrayed and coming to the realization that the very people she looked up to and fought to protect are the ones she can no longer trust. This is anger out of hurt and betrayal. This is natural. This is good writing. This is powerful. She storms out of the palace and makes her way through the crowd. We get this. We get this mask of pain and regret. We all do things out of anger we regret later. She keeps walking, perhaps because she believes she can't turn back.
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
The writing in this is a mixture of nostalgia hitting, inner struggles, and progression. The pacing's a little fast. They started with a bang, literally. If they don't address the issue of the queen not telling the king, I will be disappointed. This is a plot hole that needs fixing. This needs to be addressed. Trust in a marriage is a major issue, and this breaks it. Many people are saying Teela is being selfish. I don't see it. The writing isn't showing that. Some would argue that Teela was not selfish in the original series. To that, I would ask you all one question. In how many episodes does she blatantly either disobey her father or just go off on her own because she wanted to do so? She disobeyed Duncan directly in the she demon of Phantos. As a matter of fact, in every iteration of her character in animation, she was brash, headstrong, disobeyed orders, and never missed a chance to throw a jab or two in Adam's way. So, she's perfectly in character here. In my memory of the show, Skeletor wanted the secrets of Greyskull and to rule Eternia. What's the point in destroying the universe if you want to rule it? Did he think that he could control the magic and thus Eternia? I mean, that would make sense, but then again, he would have to know he'd be risking his life to attain it.
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Even though there is something to be said for the cheesy original intro of the 80s and its repetitiveness, this new intro and dramatic music tells you this continuation is going to be a little more grown up. The narration is on point as well, the splash art, and the way they display it during the intro reminds me of a motion comic. It's a nice touch. The colors, line work, and shading are primo. I would print these, frame them, and hang them in my office. If I had an office. Main event is Teela's knighting, an official nod to becoming man-at-arms. As I stated in my react, Duncan was going to have to retire anyway. Who better to take his place than his adopted daughter, whom he's been teaching and training all her life? There are those who would argue what I'm about to say, but they aged them up quite well. You would expect any battle hardened soldier to be rough around the edges. I am talking about Duncan here. As for Teela, they aged her particularly well. She still has a feminine silhouette while gaining muscle from training and fighting all her life. Her chin is a little square for my taste, but that's just me. We get to see the sorceress for the first time. Let's see how they aged her. You can see the resemblance between her and Teela here. I love the small details. For those of you who don't know, she is Teela's mother. For a reason I can't remember an explanation for, Teela cannot know this. In Teela's quest, she finds this out only to have her memory of it erased. Here we have the major antagonist, Skeletor. I wonder where he got the shaping staff. It was destroyed in the original, the same episode it was found. Uh, no matter. The shading is constantly impressing me. They keep his over the top self confidence. Ah, Orko. His updated look was jarring for some, but I am here for it. Don't worry. He's still klutzy with magic. He would not be Orko if he wasn't. He's also still ready with a pun or two. Nice entrance here. I like how they stayed true to his palette from the original and updated his look as well. Now he actually looks different from his He-Man persona. In my humble opinion, I think the original Lois laned everyone in the series. How could you not look at He-Man and see Adam and vice versa? This makes it much more believable that people would not be able to tell. I gushed all over the artwork, coloring, and line work, but it needs to be said again. I loved it. The shading, the updating of the characters, the lines, and the palettes used are spot on. I love how they kept the original palettes for each character and just updated their looks. Yes, she has muscles, but not as much as Teela, and that's par for the magic user course. The aging is on point. They kept her palette and overall design.
Inconceivable!
The animation was smooth as silk, fluid, and the action scenes were easy to follow. The particle effects for the magic and other events were lovely and well done. The transformation scene has a heavy anime feel to it, but holy hell is it done beautifully. The change from Adam to He-Man is dynamic, not to mention the one from Cringer to Battle Cat. I could watch that on a loop.
Time out! Excuse me, bad guys. I am running out of air.
Can we talk about Sarah Michelle Gellar as Teela? You can feel the hurt and betrayal as her voice cracks, delivering the lines before she leaves. You don't have to strain or imagine it, it's there. Randor's anger is felt as well. You can tell each of the actors put a lot of themselves in the emoting for the voices. I would say how good Hamill was as Skeletor, but besides the usual grandstanding Skelly Boy does, the voice wasn't much different from his Joker voice.
Yeah, well, you should see the other guy.
Overall, I enjoyed this episode and can't wait to review the next one. Being a He-Man fan myself, I had to set aside any predisposed judgments and expectations and see this for what it is, a continuation of the story from the 80s. I didn't see anything many others are complaining about. Maybe they're so jaded they look at everything through SJW tinted glasses. I can't blame them for that, but I can say when you go looking for reasons to hate something instead of looking at it through objective eyes, you're going to find something to hate every time. That's bias in play. Until the next time, take care, my little misfits.